Wow, beautiful. UPS just dropped this off probably about 2 minutes ago. Luckily it looks very well packed. So this is what we've all been waiting for. The 80/20 mounts. I think it's time to open it up. Look how they came out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, all my sizes and measurements all came out right. One of the first things to do was actually mount the bottom bracket. This one's actually been here for quite some time. I cut it down already, as you guys saw. Got the mounting brackets. A very important thing for me when doing this light mount, I wanted to do something that I could service down the road. Once this tank is not fully flush up against the wall, but with about 4-inch gap, I want to make sure that in the future, if ever I need to remove this or do anything, I can totally service it. So to do that, I could have put a Phillips head, but with the Phillips head and the tank that close against the wall, you're never gonna get it out. So what I did, actually a socket head like you're seeing here, I'm totally able to, if I have to, get a wrench and loosen that. So if ever I need to remove the bar or do anything like that, I can do it. So I think it's very important anytime you're doing something like this on your reef tank, you think about the future. So if ever something does need to be removed or whatever the case is, you can totally do that, which is why I use these over the Phillips head. Another thing I did, I also marked out the 1.5 bar coming up, exactly perfectly centered. So now I have a good reference point of where the 80/20 bar is going to go. All there's to do now is open up the package, find the bars, and then start getting them mounted.
A few moments later.
It's nice to see that 80/20 actually took the time to wrap them, pack them, very nice. I did go with the anodized black for a few reasons. Number one, it'll match the Radion lights a lot better. Number two, even though it is aluminum and it won't rust per se, but I've heard of people saying even though it won't rust, aluminum is known to corrode. So I figured, you know what, let's go with anodized black. That's going to protect it a lot better. Oh my god. Wow, beautiful. So very nice. So there's one of the bars. Let's make sure it doesn't touch the ground so it doesn't get scratched. And then the other 2 bars should be in here. This is going to be the main bar that runs the full back, and this is also going to give me the height. And check out those counter bores for the anchors. So if you guys remember my 80/20 video I did where I show you guys the different accessories and the different mounting options, I went with the counter bore. You probably can't tell right now, but once this thing assembles, you're gonna be like, how in the heck is it staying together? The anchors are actually gonna be hidden here on the inside. Here are all the parts that is gonna take to assemble this. So now all there is to do is locate them all, and then let's start putting this thing together. Got the 2 brackets installed. I had to remove one of these to slide them in. As you can see, here's one of them. Got all the hardware, all the screws on there. All there is to do now is mount the bar. Then we'll be able to center it, then tighten it down, and then we'll be able to add 2 more of the supports you'll see a little bit later here. Excuse the small area, it's pretty compact here, but you know, I'm doing my best to show you guys here how I'm doing this. So I have everything tightened down. We have the back bar fully coming up. You can see it right here. I made sure I had the orientation correct for the for the anchors. I'm actually using these here. It's gonna be really cool once you see these. Everything's gonna be hidden. You're not gonna see at all how it's connected, and it makes for a very strong joint. I still need to do one more of these to the back of this plate. I actually installed this this piece of wood here so I can anchor it down, because you can see even like this, it has, I mean, it's very little wiggle, but I want to make sure it has no wiggle whatsoever. So I'm going to install one of those brackets here, and then that should be good to go. So let's see these anchors. I think, yeah, they go in like, yeah, like this. Oh wow, look at that. You won't see anything. And the other one, it goes on the other side, goes like that. Oh wow, that's super clean. Look at that. So when you see it, that's all you're going to see, and then it clamps the T, or I guess you can call it the T-nut, but this piece will come from the top and I'll make sure it holds the top bar once it's tightened fully against this. I finally got the rear 90 support here mounted. You can see here on either end. So it's being held down by these 90 brackets here. Just excuse the wood, but we also have them here. And if you guys remember watching my 80/20 video I did, not this past Friday, but last Friday, where I talked about the slotted 90 outside corner mounts, you see why it's so beneficial that you do slotted for these two holes. Because look, I don't want this bar making full contact with the glass, so I'm gonna have to offset it a little bit here back. Let's see if the camera can pick it up. See that? It's not a lot, but you're able to see I'm able to push it back enough where this whole back bar isn't rubbing against the glass. And you wouldn't be able to do that if these weren't slotted. So it's very important, if you are doing the style mount I did, that you make sure you at least get these slotted so you can adjust it so it's not making 100% contact with the glass. Now I need to grab the bar that reaches across. I think it's this. No, it's actually the shorter one. Here it is. Yeah, so this is the bar that's going to reach across. And hopefully everything goes together smoothly. I'm honestly not worried about the assembly. I'm worried about my measurements to see if everything was indeed correct. So there's another anchor on the opposite corner. So this is where the lights are going to grab onto. And then this anchor that I put up here, there you go, how it holds it right there. So let's tighten that down, but so far it looks really good. Obviously a bunch of mess here, but you guys kind of get the idea. So let me tighten the top one down and then we'll be able to get a better idea. Very happy how it's come out so far. This thing is really sturdy. Very important thing, if you are doing this, you want to make sure that the light bar itself is leveled to the stand and not to earth, or what level would be. And if that doesn't make sense, let me try my best to explain it. So as you can see, the bubble is slightly off. It's closer to this line here. So right now the stand is not perfectly leveled. So if I were to make the light bar perfectly leveled, and then I went to adjust the stand, which I am going to do later, guess what's going to happen to the light bar? It's going to be offset a little bit. So you want to make sure that the level on the light bar matches the level on the stand. So when you make adjustments to the tank, it also reflects on the light bar itself. And I confirmed that just with putting the bar up here. And it's exactly how it is. It's just touching the line here on the left. So then when I go ahead to level the stand, it'll be able to match up. So the last bar that's going to go is this bar here that reaches across the top. To mount that, we use the same mechanism as we did here. Now guys, I'm so happy. The reason my order took close to 2 months was because this custom machining they did. They also did the same machining for the light, the main bar itself that runs across. So it leaves for a very clean look. You could see, when you look at this, you're like, how in the heck is this thing being held together? But I just felt it was worth it, and trust me, if you were to ask me, was it worth the wait? Absolutely. I could have went the more inexpensive route, the quicker route, but the fact that I did wait, man, I'm so happy. Another thing I did do for the front bar that's going across here, I didn't do the 3-channel slot as you normally see. The 4-channel slot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one here, you can see only has 1, 2, 3, and the front of it, or the side that's going to be facing you, is just nice and smooth. I felt it's going to be easier to clean like that. The only downside to doing this is if later you want to add like supplemental lighting or more accessories, you kind of can't do it when they do this. So just keep that in mind. If you are doing this, know that your options are going to be a little bit limited down the road. I can certainly flip the bar to grab onto the back here. So this is the top, which would then allow me to utilize the sidebar. Actually, I just thought about it. So yeah, I guess I could have like this, have this bar mount to there. This would be the top, and I can still use this to mount supplemental lighting or whatever. But currently mine is going to be mounted like this, so this is going to be facing you. Should be easier to clean and should give for a nice and finished look. Let's attach these anchors. There's one of them. There's a second, and now you just slightly tighten the nut, and then you can slide on the bar. Here's the top of it. I have a piece of tape, that's what I used to find. Not center, it was offset 3/4, so I could just line it up with this side. And that's what the light bar looks. I'm actually really happy with it. Super clean. I also bought the covers for the channels so I can totally cover up the channels so you don't see them. Also, the good thing about 80/20, you can run a lot of your wires, if not all, right through the channels, and it gives you a nice clean look when it's all said and done. Now it's time that we actually modify the RMS slide mount. Let me show you guys how we do that. This part here is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I should bore you guys, but I found center on the slide mount, drilled it, and then I used the T-nut accessory screw. You could see me punching it through. And I'm also using a grommet. This will make sense a little bit later, as I'll show you in the next clips as to why it's here. It's a good idea to slide the offset nut. Make sure that the little lifted or flanged piece is facing away from the screw. Don't thread it down all the way, just about, one turn is good enough, because then you're going to compress it too much so it won't fit over the 80/20. This here, it's not the actual 80/20 that's going to be used on the tank, at least not this physical piece, is a cut piece. The reason I'm using this, it's easier to show you a smaller piece of it than trying to show you on the tank. It's a lot bigger and a little bit more difficult to do. So if everything's correct and my calculations are right, this should just slide right in. So now we just slide this over the 80/20. And then we can go ahead and tighten it down. Doesn't need to be crazy tight, but tight enough is good. Now the main reason I put the grommet here, number one, this piece won't come in contact with the 80/20, so you shouldn't scratch it. Number two, and most important, without that grommet, if I were to hit this without fully tightened it, this thing would rotate like a wheel. So with that bearing, it's able to, with that O-ring, it's able to create enough friction, but I could still move it and it's able to hold whatever position I want. That's not something you need to do. If you want to do a washer under there or whatever you want, you could totally do that. I just felt with these grommets or O-rings, it was a lot better. But as you guys can see, my theory did work out great. I'm very happy it worked. So now to get these mounted onto the tank. Okay, that should be good. I actually left this bar quite a bit longer than 15 inches on center, because if you guys have watched the BRS videos, I always recommend the outer lights going a bit further so it doesn't create such a hot spot in the center. So I did that. I made it a little bit longer, so if I do want to go ahead and do that, I can, or if I want to just bring them back to be fit, I think it's 15 and something inches on center, I totally can. Got everything nice and screwed down. One interesting thing, the top bar itself actually allows you to have quite a bit of play as far as leveling it. So you don't have to be true critical of this bar here being perfectly with the tank. I actually saw that the top bar gives you quite a bit of play to make sure it's perfectly leveled. Obviously you do want to get the back bar as close as you can to plumb. If you don't get it perfect or it's not matching up exactly with the stand, it gives you a ton of play up here. But yeah, so far I'm really loving the look. Nice and sleek, doesn't take up too much room in the rear. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, I'm very happy with how this 80/20 bar came out. These end caps are pretty neat. They're just plastic end caps, so you don't have to see this big old opening, and from the looks of it, they just slide in. It's gonna take two hands, but yeah, they just slide in and fully lock in to obviously make it look more like a finished product. So that's gonna conclude this week's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope you got some ideas on maybe how you can make your own light mount, either for your current tank or new tank. All I can say for me personally, it was totally worth the wait. I absolutely loved the finish, loved the anchor choice I did. And all in all, it was actually very simple considering this is the first time I ever worked with 80/20. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below. I'd also love to hear what thoughts or what ideas you think you could use this 80/20 on in the future. I thank each and every one of you very much for watching. As always, happy reefing.